Hello, listeners. I'm so excited to introduce my guest this week is Landon Ashworth, and he is an actor, director, and pilot, and graduate of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And Landon has a new film, an award-winning film that he's going to tell us about today, and it focuses on inclusion and neurodiversity and just such an important story that we need to hear right now. So, Landon, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Well, tell me about your background in acting and directing and what inspired the new film.
So I was a bullied little autistic kid from a cornfield in the middle of nowhere, and I didn't have any friends growing up, and my parents were really worried about me, so they sent me to child psychologist, and they thought that I was probably on the spectrum, so I got tested. And when they got the results back, my therapist, when I was a kid, said, you process feelings and emotions differently, and your brain just works different than the other kids. So, why don't you try to get into acting classes to learn how to mask your autism, to try to learn how to fit in a little bit better? Because the world's not going to conform around you. You need to learn how to fit in to the world. So I started taking acting classes as a little kid, and I was in community theater. But ultimately, what I really wanted to do with my life was be an astronaut. So I went to flight school, became a test pilot, and then they scrapped the mission, well, at least the role in the space program for civilian test pilots, and decided they were only going to hire military test pilots. So that kind of made that degree useless. And then they slated a mission to Mars, and they were going to send somebody from the arts community. And from my background in the arts from growing up, I applied to conservatories and then got MFA in filmmaking. And then they scrapped the Mars mission. So then I didn't know what to do. And then my academic advisor from undergrad, because I went to the Air Force Academy and Embry-Riddle are the two highest hirers from NASA. So if you're going to be an astronaut, you went to the Air Force Academy, some test pilot school, or Embry-Riddle. And so I asked my academic advisor, what do I do? And he said, well, now you got to go back and get your PhD or your MD. And unless they privatize the space industry, you're good to go. So I studied astrophysics for a PhD, and on my dissertation day, Obama put a 10-year hiring freeze on astronauts and privatized the space industry.
Oh my gosh.
So that's where I got the nickname Cursed. All my friends call me Cursed. And so I didn't really know what to do. I knew I didn't want to teach physics at university. I knew I didn't want to be a test pilot because I've had a lot of friends die in plane crashes. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll use this. Maybe I can use, a theater, all my theater experience and try to utilize that. So I moved out to Los Angeles and started acting in commercials. And every time I'd book a new commercial, I'd upgrade my film equipment because a casting director told me there's not a single A-list celebrity that doesn't have their own production company. And never be the actor that waits on a phone call from somebody else. Be the actor creating opportunities for yourself. So, tricky thing is being on the spectrum and being autistic. I take everything very black and white. At least that's my version of autism. I know it's a spectrum, so obviously everyone's different. I would never speak for all people on the spectrum, but my neurodiversity, I'm very, very black and white. So I took the casting director's advice and started making my own stuff by myself, completely by myself. I would write it, direct it, edit it, color correct it, sound mix it, final delivery, and then post it. I never collaborated with anyone ever, never. It was all me playing every single character because that's what was in my control. The few times that I tried to get actors to join me, they'd flake. And I got so sick of Los Angeles actors flaking on me that I just decided to just keep doing it myself. And so that snowballed into writing and directing almost 1,000 comedy sketches over the course of 6, 7 years, really small roles in television. But my career was never getting any bigger. I was only doing co-stars in small TV shows. And interrupt me at any time if I ever just get rambly. I have the tendency to do that.
No, it's a fascinating story. Oh my
Cut me,
gosh, you went through
cut me off.
so much adversity.
Yeah, cut me off at any time. So I got to the point that I realized I can't do this by myself. Everything that I'm doing is basically beating my head against a wall and getting no results. So then I decided, because I'm terrified of talking to people, I can't even answer the door for a delivery driver. That's how much social anxiety I have. So finally I said, I'm done. I'm done being afraid of talking to people. I'm gonna start talking to the showrunners when I'm on set for TV shows that I book as an actor. So I started going up to showrunners anytime I booked a TV show, and I said, "Look, I write, I direct, I edit, but nothing has happened in my career. Give me one piece of advice, and I will follow it to the ends of the earth." And every single time somebody gave me that advice, I would follow it to the ends of the earth. The creator of the show Code Black was the very first one that I asked that advice for. And he said, you have to write an award-winning script. Once you win a writing award, you'll get a literary agent. So I wrote a script. I submitted it to a bunch of film festivals. I won two really gigantic film festivals, the Atlanta Film Festival and Rain Dance. And I didn't get a single meeting from winning those huge festivals. So I was like, okay, booked another TV show, asked that showrunner, what do I do? And that was the showrunner for the TV show, The Resident. And he said, man, you got to win a short. You got to make a short film. Who cares about writing a script unless you want to be a writer? If you want to be a filmmaker, make a short. And I was like, well, I've made 1,000 comedy sketches. He's like, those aren't shorts. Make a real short, put your whole soul into it. So I did that, and then I won half a dozen Oscar qualifying film festivals for my short. Didn't get a single meeting from that. And then the film that ended up winning or getting nominated for it was between my film and another film called The 11 O'clock that was going to get the Oscar nomination. And so it just so happened, it's super random. 2 days after the Oscars, the 11 O'clock got nominated, so it wasn't my film. 2 days after the Oscars, I booked a movie that was on Hulu called Becoming Bond, and the star of that film was Josh Lawson. Josh Lawson was the writer and star of the 11 O'clock. And I went up to him. I'm like, dude, I wrote and directed Dickie Sledgehammer. That was the name of it. It was about a autistic private investigator that lived in two different worlds, the world in his head and then the real world. And I was like, what's happened since you've been nominated for the Oscar? And he said, well, the day after the Oscars, my agent got a phone call from another agent from CAA saying, congratulations to your client for getting nominated for an Oscar. That's it. And I said, wait, you got nominated for an Oscar and nothing has happened in your career? He's like, no, nobody cares about shorts. So I said at that moment, I was like, well, I'm never going to make another short again. What's the point? The pinnacle of a short is to be nominated for an Oscar. Well, to win, obviously. And nothing happened with his career. So I'm like, well, what's the point? And I was never going to get signed by CAA or William Morris. So I knew that that was never going to happen for me. I just never saw it in the cards. I've tried God countless times. And then I was on set of another project, and then I asked them, "What do I do?" And they're like, "Well, how many features have you made?" And I said, "I've never made a feature." And they're like, "Why?" I said, "Well, I have plenty of scripts, but I don't have a story to tell." And they said, "Well, you've got to make a feature. Like that's what you do. You make a feature. You want to be a filmmaker, go make a film." But I couldn't come up with a story. And so, a story that I could film for under millions of dollars. And it just so happened that around the time that I was trying to brainstorm an idea for a story, I went out to visit my cousin Brent in Austin. He has two sons, both on the spectrum, and they're twins. They're 16. And one of them I really bonded with. His name was Landon as well. And he was going through something really hard at that time. Just life was really hard for him. And so I said, come out and stay with me. I want to cheer you up. Like, please. And I knew he was going to say no. So I go home back to Georgia where I lived at the time. And about a week and a half later, I got a call from his mom saying, "Hey, he wants to come stay with you." And I was like, "Oh my God, what? Like, no way." She said, "Yeah, he won't stop talking about it." I'm like, "Oh my God," because showed no interest when I was there. And he's like, she said, "Well, he would really like to come visit." So I said, pick the date and the time. So he shows up, and as soon as he gets in my car, I said, "I have one rule this week, and that's I will not say no to anything that you want to do. Do you want to rob a bank? We'll go rob a bank." Because I've been an autistic kid that didn't fit in anywhere, bullied every single day. And I know what I would have given for this opportunity when I was your age. Anything you want to do. You want to rent a Ferrari, we'll go rent a Ferrari. You want to fly an airplane, we'll fly an airplane. You want to shoot guns, we'll shoot guns. Literally anything that you want. Anything that you want for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we're having it. You want sushi 4 times a day, we'll eat sushi 4 times a day. So we just spent this amazing, 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 amazing week just having the greatest time ever talking about life and death and legacy and everything. And we're both on the spectrum, so we just clicked and vibed, and it was amazing. So at the end of the week, I dropped him off with his grandparents, and then he spent a couple days with them, and then flew back home. And about a week after that, he took his own life. So I came back home from the funeral. I woke up at about 3 a.m. a day or two after the funeral, and I couldn't sleep. And I went outside with my laptop and I just wrote exterior. Well, I wrote "Go On," the title. And then I started with "Exterior Forest Day." I had no idea what I was going to write about, but the script poured out of me. And I wrote for 36 straight hours. I didn't eat, I didn't
Gosh.
sleep. I just sat outside writing for 36 straight hours. 36 straight. And that's the screenplay for Go On. I may have changed a comma or two, or the way that like a sentence was worded, but none of the dialogue changed. None of the action changed. The film that you see is the film that I wrote in 36 hours, paying homage to my cousin. And it just won the best picture at the Catalina Film Festival, and we're premiering
Congratulations.
at the Soho Film Festival in 2 weeks, and then the Twin Cities Film Festival 2 weeks after that. The movie stars Vincent Kartheiser, who played Pete Campbell on Mad Men, and it's all about a person stuck in purgatory wrestling with his past trauma but unable to process it. So it's a movie about processing the past and growing past your trauma.
Wow. Landon, what a story. I am
That's
just
heavy, sorry.
completely blown away. I mean, what sticks out to me is just how every setback you faced from being a kid bullied and, getting through autism diagnosis and finding your way in the world, and then all these different careers that you pursued didn't seem to be meant to be, all to bring you to go on to honor your legacy of such an important kiddo in your life. And it just is really like inspiring, but also just, I think, a testament to like what's possible when we have places for all people to thrive. And something I'm constantly frustrated by as a mom of an autistic kiddo is the world, like you said, wasn't created for folks with autism. And so having to navigate all of these weird rules and, like you said, like the ambiguity, it's not black and white. So I'm just curious, honoring Landon's story in the film Go On, which I highly recommend listeners that you check it out. What are you hoping to create? Like, what legacy are you hoping to leave behind with Go On?
I I want people that are the disenfranchised, the hurting, the the sad to watch it and feel a little hope. I've had two people, I have a social media following of around 3 million people or so across Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. And I've been obviously talking about this film, and I'm very open about who I am and being autistic and things like that. It's not a page for like sports stars to drop into my DMs and tell me I'm cool. It's a place for the underdog, I feel. Um, so when I talk about this story, I've had a few people say, um, I'm I'm done with life. I don't, this isn't fun anymore. And I uh, respond to every DM I get because I remember being a little kid just wishing upon wish that I could reach out to one of these stars and they could write me back. And I'd be like, oh my God, a star knows who I am. I'm not a star. But I at least DM every single person who DMs me back. It's kind of become a full-time job, but that's fine. It's worth it. And when they say that, I send them a copy of the film, and three people now have told me that they've not taken their own life after watching the film. So if that's all I get out of it, and I lose my investors all their money, I'd be very sad for my investors. But you know,
Yeah.
I'd give I'd I'd give every penny that I have to have this movie give people hope. I don't ever want anybody to ever lose someone like I lost my cousin.
Yeah.
It's awful. And I tried to make this movie all about being able to process when you don't think there's any chance whatsoever that you'll be able to process, that you're so mired in your own trauma that there's just no seeing past it. And I found little micro ways for the characters to adapt and improve that are tangible and repeatable by just about anybody,
Yeah.
to find meaning in the mundane. And it's a movie about resilience of the human mind. Anybody can do anything. God, I'm proof of that. And so it's a testament to um, the things that I wasn't able to share with my cousin that I'd give anything to go back and do. It's kind of my apology letter to him in a way.
That's an amazing impact. Like, talk about a purpose that those DMs saved lives, Landon. Like, that's so amazing. And that really speaks to like the legacy you're leaving behind is helping people find meaning and purpose in a world that doesn't feel like it's built for them. And finding that meaning and purpose for all of us, I think is really important right now too. It's really wonderful that impact you're able to create. I wonder for autistic folks or folks like me that know someone that's autistic, which, with 1 in 31 kiddos being diagnosed with autism, I think most of us do know somebody or will know somebody if you don't yet with autism. What do you think, like for us, what can we do to be better allies?
I One of the most common messages that I get on social is from the parents of people with kids on the spectrum, and asking what can I do for my kid? And 99% of the time after they share with me the perspective of what their kid's going through, I ask them to ask their kid, what do they need? So I know that my parents never did that growing up. They did the absolute best they could. God bless them. But nobody ever asked me, "Hey, what do you need to thrive? What do you need to feel comfortable? What am I not doing for you that you need?" And I'm sure that most of the time the answer will be, I don't know, but at least it gets their brain thinking about it,
Yep.
processing what their needs are. So often, especially in people with the types of autism that make them the difficulties or their struggles are much, much harder than mine. Um, you know, People just try to, well, I mean, some people say, just be quiet, calm down, relax. Well, they can't be quiet, calm down, and relax. What do they need? Maybe they need headphones because sounds are overstimulating. Maybe they need to not be forced to go to dinner in a restaurant. I know that they're going to have to assimilate, but like maybe they need to wade the toes in the water of going to a restaurant. And it takes work, so much work from a parent to provide that safe space, 10 times more work than somebody who might be neurotypical. But I would say if you encounter somebody on the spectrum, ask them what they need because
Yep.
only they know.
Yep. That's such a good point. I often talk about with allyship that it's not the golden rule, treat people how you want to be treated. It's the platinum rule, treat people how they want to be treated. And you don't
Oh,
know what someone's needs are until you ask them. Yeah, my daughter's 4, so the communication is our biggest challenge. But that's a question I will be filing away, Landon, and continuing to ask, like you said. Restaurants, I can totally relate to that. We tried to take her to a restaurant yesterday and it was a no-go. And I
oh.
just know now, can't force it. Like you said, it's just, we're going to go somewhere else instead because this isn't the right environment for her. So I think being willing to be open to change and not take it personally and continuing to ask for what support looks like for that person and showing up really does make a difference. So I'm so excited about the film, about all these awards that you're winning. I hope it opens all the doors that you've been so like just steadfastly pursuing all this advice and being willing to change and do more things. And sounds like you've really arrived at that point. What is your hope for go on? Like, where do you want it to go?
Uh, I think being a numbers person, my first goal is obviously make my investors whole. Um, obviously any film, it's show business. You cannot create movies that lose money and make any more movies. So I would love to get distribution that at least helps the movie break even.
Mhm.
That's the business side of it. From a personal, emotional side of it, I hope you know, it's cliche to say, but I hope my movie saves people's lives.
Yeah. Well, it already has.
Yeah. And
Definitely.
continues to from a bigger way, like a stranger stumbling on to it.
Yeah.
Not think of the bravery that it takes. I spent a week with my cousin who's so the bravery that it takes to tell somebody that you're thinking about it is unbelievable. But think about all the people that don't have the ability to share that, and they've just got to find my film. I hope that people outside of my orbit are able to discover it as well.
Yeah. I know I can relate to it as a neurotypical person that's had a rough year to say the least. I've had some dark thoughts myself, and you're so right. Just admitting that to somebody is like the first step to working through the grieving process and working through mental health. And we know the intersections with neurodiversity and mental health, very different things, but very much more likely to experience mental health challenges because of all of these, signals you're getting from society that you don't fit in or that you have to be different to fit into these places that again weren't created by you or for you. And so I just really appreciate the film and it's had an impact on me, Landon. Tell our listeners like how can they support the film? Where can they find it?
Sure. So we're premiering at the Soho Film Festival in Manhattan. I think we play at 9:30 at the Regal Theater. Two Saturdays coming up, the 11th, October 11th. So you can see it in Manhattan on October 11th. And then you can also see it at the Twin Cities Film Festival on the 25th of October, I believe. If that's a Saturday, it's 25th. 80 95% sure that's around 130, I think. But you can check out Twin Cities and Soho Film Festival's things, and they have their program guidelines in it, and it'll all spelled out. After that, um, I have a bunch of sales meeting with sales agents this week to try to figure out who I want to position myself with to potentially sell it, or at least get on board a sales agents that will take it to distributors. So
Well,
it's tricky because it's a indie drama with the lead of Matt, one of the leads of Mad Men and myself.
yeah.
There's no theoretical A-list celebrity. Vincent's one of the most incredible. Vincent Kartheiser, who is in the film with me, is one of the most incredible actors of our generation. Our cast is unbelievable, and I've acted with Oscar winners. He's just as good as any of those people. And the tricky thing is when you have a dialogue-driven indie drama and you see what's in the theaters right now, there are not dialogue driven indie dramas in movie theaters. Now, maybe this one would do great, but no one wants to take the risk. So a streamer is the most likely option. But since nearly all film right now is independent, you're competing against everyone and everything. So, film, streamers like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Apple, they all know that they can buy films for pennies on the dollar. And a lot of filmmakers, all they want to do is just get their movie on Netflix. But I have investors, so I'm
Hmm.
trying to help them recoup their finances and also get the movie out. But there'll be a coming to God moment where I have to tell the investors the reality of what the sales dynamic looks like these days, and it'll be up to them to see what they'd like to do.
Yeah.
I
Oh
got
my
really
God.
businessy. Sorry, that wasn't
That's okay,
that wasn't a
Landon. It
very
gave us an
sexy
interesting window into
conversation.
the business of film. I had no idea
Oh,
how
it's
complex
so
it was.
awful.
And
That's truly
yeah,
awful.
what I appreciate about you and your story is just how genuine it is and how genuine you are. And that's something I really honor about my daughter, and I see as well is there's no filter. Like what you get is like what's real and what she thinks and what she believes in. And I can see that with you as well. So
I'd give
thank you for
anything for a
your
filter. I just wasn't born with one, and
right.
they're all on back order.
That's a good way to put it.
That would save me
I
a lot
think
of pain.
it's nice. It's refreshing to
Oh, it's
hear
terrible.
what they
Oh,
really
it's a
think.
burden. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure it comes with its hardships as well, but I'm thankful for you, for your story, for your authenticity, and
Thank you,
keep
Julie.
showing up. The success you're getting is well deserved, and I appreciate you sharing your story with us, Landon.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you, Julie.